Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the second part of our series, which is about the best practices using conversational AI for getting the most out of your bots for designing the perfect conversations. We all have seen that companies struggle to leverage conversational marketing effectively. However, our goal today is to uncover the why behind this persistent issue. We are joined today by Dhanraj Vyas. He leads demand generation as well as sales at Maruti Techlabs. They've been in the space of conversational AI for almost half a decade now. Before we dive deep into the world of chatbots and chat automation, could you tell us a little more about your role?
Hey, thanks for having me on, Niharika. As you said, I lead demand gen and sales for Maruti Techlabs, where my goal is to bring in new customers across 7 of our service lines and optimize our inbound and outbound ops.
Okay, that sounds great. So now, beginning with the question, we have seen this trend grow day by day, and I'm sure you will agree that businesses generally want to be able to automate some part of their business, especially sales or support, and increase their efficiency in general. However, a lot of businesses fail to do so, which could be for multiple reasons, and based on what we've seen, it is mainly due to significant number of inefficient conversations. Now, here's the question. Do you think this happens because of having multiple conversations with the customers that don't lead anywhere, or is it something completely different?
That's interesting. And yes, I do agree with you there. I mean, there's 2 ways that we can go about this. When you look at it from the lens of customer support, the CS department in general faces a massive amount of churn, regardless of the industry it is in. On the flip side, when you look at sales, you see a similar trend, where you have reps speaking with multiple prospects, which is actually a really good problem to have, if I'm being honest here. But, a lot of those prospects lack, a lot of those leads and those conversations, at least in the initial stages, lack a lot of context. So when you look at it closely, reps are also incentivized, for pushing leads through the funnel faster. In this process, you tend to lose the art of actually carrying out a good discovery call. So you no longer focus on uncovering pain or peeling the layers for your prospect's problem, or being able to highlight that pain in general or identify that as a rep. All you're looking at is moving them through the funnel, because obviously your KPIs and your metrics incentivize you to do that. Now, the problem here is that those conversations don't really go anywhere, more than just a few calls here and there. And I'm speaking from a sales perspective, because you, as a rep, you've not focused on highlighting what it is that you can, highlighting what's the exact pain point for your customer or your prospect. So to solve these issues, businesses tend to look at automation as something that can help them, solve this problem to an extent, but they tend to fail because they don't really cover corner scenarios, or they don't manage to drill down on the use cases even further, or successfully map them against business outcomes. Based on what we've seen over the last couple of years, it's automation has become this new trend that everybody wants to get on or apply in their business processes, but often they tend to lack or drill down further into the use cases to be able to get the most out of it. So what happens is you now have businesses which are just scratching the surface of what sales or support automation can help them out with, and tend to fail 8 to 9 times out of 10. And it just happens to be another hurdle for their prospects to be able to jump through, or their customers to clear, instead of it being something meaningful that could solve problems not just for the business, but actually for the customer themselves.
All right. So now when you say that a bot has to be a sales representative in the initial phases, correct me if I'm wrong, but this sounds very easy to me if I think about less number of customers. But do you think personalization at scale is possible for Sdrs or sales team in general?
Yes and no. This is an ongoing debate everywhere, whether it's sales or support. But since your question is leaning towards sale, we'll stick to that. Sales reps have massive quotas to hit, and they're chasing numbers, they're chasing metrics, whether it's X number of dollars generated during this particular month or Y number of meetings set during this week. So it's fairly impossible for them to be able to get granular details of each prospect that they are speaking with or they're going to be speaking to, do their homework or their research beforehand, and then have those series of initial discussions to see if there's a good fit. Often there's also, like let's say if you're speaking with 10 leads, on the flip side, I would say almost 50 to 60% of those are just looking at what it is that you can provide them or what problem you can solve for them. They're not in the buying mode specifically at that point of time. Not to say that they don't deserve the attention of a sales rep, but it helps to have that context beforehand. So the personalization problem, yes, it can be solved to an extent by leveraging chatbots automation. We've been doing that for the last 3 years. We've been using bots as a pre-sales, as our own virtual sales rep to qualify prospects that want to speak with us. So the way that bot has been helping us out is, although there's way too many tools out there, whether that's for identifying intent or social listening tools, the reason we lock down on bots and why they help us out on that matter is because they can specifically qualify and outline the context of each potential conversation that our reps are going to be having with those prospects beforehand. So essentially it's doing 70 to 80% of the discovery call before the discovery call happens. So yes, you can manage to personalize at scale by making sure that you've deployed smart automation to an extent.
Okay, so in that case, do you think that something like chatbots can help in screening customer issues or prospects correctly, and is the solution to achieving personalization at scale?
When you're looking at it, so we covered sales. When you're looking at it from the perspective of support, yes, again, to an extent, it's very helpful when you're dealing with high volume, right? And you're trying to assess intent, and at the same time, get your customers or your prospects in a certain flow when there's no intent either to buy or there's no specific problem for them which a human can solve at that given point of time. So again, from the perspective of sales, you're pushing them into a nurture flow because they've expressed intent of not wanting to buy right now. When you're looking at it from a customer support scenario, you basically pushing them towards a bot that can help them get the outcome that they're looking for, because it doesn't really require any human intervention at that given point of time. Going back towards sales, if you're able to manage to map out your entire sales funnel, and I don't mean the entire funnel, but let's say, part of your 60 to 70% of your funnel within the bot itself, make sure that the bot is asking the relevant questions that are anyway always asked by reps when they're trying to set context or set the ground or do a level of discovery. Identify the level of intent, get the intent expressed from the prospect, whether they're just looking for more information, or they're actually looking to get in touch with you because they're now in the market to buy. Segment your prospects, outline what is an MQL and an SQL that comes in via the chatbot, because ultimately what happens, and this is where the sales and marketing debate gets in, you're getting all these leads, and at the end of the day, they're either just going to be a couple of emails that you're collecting, or they're going to be high intent leads that actually want to speak with your sales team. What sales teams want is the latter. They want to speak with people that are actually looking to get in touch with them right now. And essentially, a bot could help you out here where you're looking to manage high amount of volume and automate that part of the job, which doesn't really require a lot of human intervention to begin with. So yes, it is going to help you achieve personalization at scale to an extent, but more than that, it's going to help you jump to stage 2 of the discussion more quickly and seamlessly as compared to doing it in the traditional format.
Okay, I understand. But now my question here is, you said that it's going to help me to jump to level 2 of the discussion. But considering that I am a potential user and I don't know anything about bots, so there's a high chance that I would not be interested in the conversation only because there isn't a human on the other side. So how do businesses go about mitigating that risk when they adopt conversational AI bots as a part of their automation initiatives? Or what would be the best practices in general when they are looking to implement conversational AI bots?
Right. That's an interesting question, because this brings me back to a discussion I was having the other day. The reason why bots tend to get a lot of negative feedback, or people tend to look at bots negatively, is because often businesses fail to set expectations when they've deployed bots. I mean, if you're a customer or a prospect, let's take the customer service example here. If you're a customer, you have a certain problem with the product or whatever it is that you purchased, and you go to the website or the channel to speak with that company. you think you're going to be speaking directly with a human, but in this case, you're now speaking with a bot, which is trying to pass itself off as a human and setting wrong expectations. You're going to be asking a question that clearly the bot's not been trained on, depending on how the training was imparted. And that leads to a poor experience. So you're just frustrated even more than you were when you started off. So where businesses fail and why chatbots get a negative feedback is, number one, not setting clear expectations, not outlining specifically that, yes, this is a bot that you're speaking with. It's been trained to do X, Y, and Z, and it'll be able to help you out with, A, B, and C. However, if there's anything at any point where the bot fails, there's always going to be a human handoff for an agent to step in. These expectations need to be laid out very clearly when a prospect gets in touch, when a prospect or a customer gets in touch with a bot. So they know, okay, this is how I can interact with this particular chatbot here. And it's going to be able to help me out only in so-and-so scenarios and not everything under the sun. Apart from that, another reason could be you don't do your homework enough or research enough pertaining to top customer issues, or what it is that a customer or a prospect is looking for when they're looking to get in touch with you. If you're going to be automating that part of the job, make sure that you've really spoken with a lot of customers. You've looked at your previous data, identified what are the top queries, what are the top issues that keep coming up from time to time, and how do we circumvent those issues through a chatbot instead of bringing in a human agent. So look at it this way: if you can manage to even solve 70 to 80% of the queries, yes, that's good. That would be a good success part of your phase one of your chatbot or automation deployment. It's not smart to have agents, sitting 8 hours a day, in some case 24 hours, depending on the industry you're in, where you have agents working on rotational shifts. It's not smart to have them sitting behind a computer all day and replying to any and all queries that come in, even for the most basic questions, because that's just not a good use of their time. And that's where essentially, this is one of the reasons why you see a massive churn in CS jobs, where you have people leaving jobs because it's not something that's challenging enough, or it's not something which is rewarding enough, in the sense that you're just doing the same thing day in and day out. If you have a bot that's able to automate and manage 80% of the work, and have your agents step in and pull through the remaining 20%, because that's where the human input, creativity, and skill is needed, then that's where you have a good automation or a good chatbot automation deployed. And you're making good use of the people that you actually have on these roles, and the bot's helping them focus on something that's far more mission critical.
That's fair. I think that's a pretty good playbook to start off with. And now that we've established the best practices, I do have one last question for you, which has two subparts. So how do businesses take the call on whether they should build an in-house team or hire an external agency for designing the conversational AI bot? If it is an in-house team, what should they be looking for in the team? And if it is hiring an agency, which agency should they go for?
Okay, so the process isn't really as simple as it seems, especially when you're trying to do this in-house. We've seen a lot of companies, and often a lot of companies prefer to play this close to the chest and do this in-house. But the challenge here is that you need to rope in multiple different stakeholders from different departments. You need to bring them in, align them on the requirement, as well as make sure that you first work on uncovering the use cases. Once that's done, you need to even drill down deeper into the use cases to map them against tangible business outcomes, as we covered earlier. Let's say that's done in a given time frame. This is followed by bringing in brand and marketing, because you need them to be able to make sure that the conversation flows are designed in accordance with the company's brand tone and voice. You also need to bring in CS and sales, depending on the use case that you've picked out, to be able to effectively map out the entire flow. Once you have that in place, you need to have a team, a dedicated team that works on making sure that this bot is constantly optimized. You're using the best practices. You're making sure that all the T's are crossed, all the I's are dotted. So the learning curve is very steep, and regardless, it's steep regardless of whatever platform you tend to go with in this kind of scenario. Lastly, and this is again one of the biggest challenges that we've seen companies face, is you need to make sure that IT is on the same page, especially when it comes to compliances and making sure that all boxes are ticked. So there's way too many there's way too many people involved in just getting things up and running. On the flip side, when you're looking to hire an agency or you're looking to hire somebody who's been doing this for the last couple of years, so you need to look at an agency that's helping you, develop, design, and deploy this bot right from scratch as a done-for-you service. Do they have the relevant case studies that are very close to the use cases that you're looking for? Do they have live bots actually working on the use cases that you have in mind? In fact, we've seen this as a success with our service offering, where you cut down where our clients are able to cut down on the risk of spending time and resources on just figuring things out, and they have our team that steps in, does a workshop, outlines the use cases, aligns everybody with regards to how this bot is going to be built, what's going to be covered with this particular bot, what are we going to be rolling out in a phase-wise manner, and set all expectations clear. And all this is done in less than 2 days' time. Maybe sometimes even less than a day, depending on the size of the business that we're speaking with. So this basically helps us get them hit the ground running very quickly, and there's little time spent in getting everyone on the same page if this were to be done in-house. So I think just recently, I think we pretty much hit an internal record where we were able to bring on a customer, and in less than 7 hours we were able to go live with their chatbot solution. So that was an internal record for us, where and the customers are obviously very happy seeing that they could go live in such a short time, because if they would have done this in-house, it would have definitely taken them about 2 weeks to go live with phase 1. So yeah, that's where you have the difference between either you do this in-house or you hire an agency.
All right. Thank you so much, Dhanraj, for the insightful conversation. This was part 2 of our series, and it was great having you here and giving us some valuable information on the topic.
Thank you, Niharika. Thanks for having me.
And for the next week, we have another guest for diving deeper into this series. Lastly, thank you for watching and listening. If you have any questions, drop it in the comments below or email us hello@wotnot.io.